Hey everyone, I'm Almar of almarsguides.com, and in this video here we're going to be talking about bird IDs in Castlevania Curse of Darkness. So, to get started, let me go into my bird ID list here. I'm going to go over these one by one, explain the abilities, and basically give you all you need to know. Before we get started, look on the right hand side of the screen. You see the little graph that shows you the stat distribution. What this is showing you is stat growth. This will show you what sort of stats they get when they level up as this ID. So a crow gets a pretty even distribution, as you can see. If we switch to Goldfinch, you can see he mostly gets agility and hearts when he levels up, but he gets low amounts of everything else. So that's what that information is telling you. So to get started with a crow, their innate skill is glide, and this does what it says. You have to learn this ability, or you have to use this ability in order to progress with the main storyline, so I won't dive into it too much. Goldfinch, the only ability they get is Caltrops, which is okay. It's a lesser version of Carpet Bombs, and Carpet Bombs is much better. So all in all, this is like the worst tier 2 bird type, in my opinion. One thing that is neat about Goldfinch is every single time it hits an enemy or you hit an enemy while you have Goldfinch active, the enemy will drop little coins that are worth $1 a piece. And money is so easy to get and common in this game that's not really that worth it, but it's neat. It's a neat feature. Skullwing, this is the other tier 2 bird type. You'll see that he gets Carpet Bombs and Bone Shot. Also, something worth mentioning is look at the bottom of the screen, see defeat a certain number of enemies with current ID form. This is the condition to unlock the skill. So unless I say otherwise, assume every skill is unlocked by defeating a certain number of enemies with that bird ID active. So, Carpet Bombs. Carpet Bombs, it does as the skill suggests. He flies overhead and he drops basically Carpet Bombs on the enemy. And it's decent. It strikes in a line, so it's not so good on one enemy, but it's decent if there's a couple, in the same area. And, yeah, I mean, there's not much else I can say about it. It's like Caltrops, just a lot better. Caltrops, I'm pretty sure the reason Caltrops sucks is because the Caltrops fall onto the ground and then they blow up after somebody runs over them on the ground. Carpet Bombs just blows up the second it hits the ground. Bone Shot is the best ability, I would argue, of the best damaging ability of... I don't know how I want to word it. It's the best ability of any bird ID except for Big Bang, which the Phoenix gets. It's an exceptionally good ability. Basically, it's kind of like Corpsey's Bone Shot. I don't know if he's invulnerable during the Bone Shot. I think he might be. But he essentially looks at the ground at an angle and just unleashes Bone Shot on one enemy or however many enemies are standing around that one. It's just a great skill. Chaos. This is the first tier 3 bird type that we're going to be looking at, and the one skill he gets is Sphere of Darkness, and it sucks. Dracula gets this skill too, and it's slightly better when Dracula uses it. The main reason it sucks, though, is because it's very, very slow moving. The balls just kind of crawl towards people, and if the enemies are even remotely fast, it's not going to hit them. They're just going to dodge it, and then by the time the balls get even anywhere near the enemy, they're going to disappear. So, Wingasaurus. This is another tier 3. He gets Long Glide and Deadly Absorb. Long Glide allows you... It's like Glide, just it lets you go a much further distance. You will need Long Glide to get to a few areas in the game. To name 2 of them, in order to get from the Tower of Eternity to the Tower of Evermore, you're going to need Long Glide. And also, if I'm not mistaken, you need it to get to an area in Infinite Corridor. I personally needed it. I'm not sure if you can get to the area with regular Glide. I usually use Long Glide for it, but yeah. Otherwise, everywhere else in the game you can get to just using regular Glide. So Deadly Absorb is the next ability Wingasaurus gets, and it sucks. It heals you, and essentially it absorbs health from the enemy and it heals you, but the amount that it heals you for is crap. It costs far too many hearts to use, is how I would describe it. Now, Phoenix. This is the first final tier that we're going to go over, and in my opinion, the Phoenix is the best final tier for the bird IDs, with one condition. If you're not going to be using your bird IDs all the time, then Phoenix is the best. And The reason for this is Big Bang Attack. Essentially what this does is it blows up and damages almost all enemies in the room. And the reason that this attack is so exceptional is, well, I should say, this attack will kill Phoenix when you use it. It requires 49 hearts, I think it is, to use, and it will kill Phoenix when you use it. The reason this attack is so exceptional is because it does, I think, as much as like mage IDs do, like over 1,000 with, like if you use Meteo, it'll do like 1,100 usually. I'm pretty sure Big Bang Attack does, unless the enemy's heavily resistant to fire, I would say. Or resistant at all, then it'll do less, obviously. But it does a lot of damage. It's a big bang. Get it? Big Bang Attack? Yeah. It's just like Vegeta's Big Bang Attack. But the reason, if you're going to use a bird ID a lot, then it's not going to be good because you're going to kill Phoenix when you use it. However, say you're going through boss rush mode and you don't normally use a bird ID, you normally use a healer ID and a battle ID like I do. You can pull out your bird, blow up, Big Bang Attack, do a lot of damage to the boss, and then go back to using whatever Innocent Devil you were using in the first place. Which is why I think the Phoenix Innocent Devil is the best one. Because you can just pull them out whenever you want, Big Bang, and then switch again to another one. And all of the damage is done in under like 10 seconds to the boss. So, and by 10 seconds, I mean you have to wait for him to summon, and then you have to wait to gain access to his skills, and then wait for it to go off, blah, blah, blah. But you can pull him out, blow everything up real quick, and then switch back to whatever ID you want to use. It's great. In order to unlock Big Bang Attack, you'll see that the condition is slightly different. You have to defeat a certain number of enemies that are above level 25. So big deal. It's basically the same thing. Firebird, this is a halfway decent skill. Essentially, Phoenix dives down and spins through enemies while on fire and deals damage to them. So moving on to Blag's Death. This is a final tier, bird ID 2, and he learns Beat Progress. This skill sucks. It does he essentially kicks the enemy a bunch of times. It only hits one enemy and it does barely any damage. It sucks. So looking on at these ones, Conflict Fall and Force Cannon, neither of these are that good either. They both do mediocre damage, for lack of better words. And yeah. I might explain them at the end of this guide a little bit more. I don't know too much about them. I got to look at my website because I forget. But let's look at Indigo, Icicle Shot, and Blizzard Breath. So Indigo and Crimson are going to be like brother battle IDs. So Indigo gets Icicle Shot and Blizzard Breath. Icicle Shot is kind of like Bone Shot, except it does ice damage. And Blizzard Breath, it deals a little bit of damage, but the better aspect of it is it freezes the enemy, which you might like, you might not like. It's going to be, up to personal preference. So Crimson, Ignition Blow and Flame Breath. So Ignition Blow does a decent amount of damage, and it basically shoots fireballs at the enemy. Like I said, decent amount of damage, especially if enemies are weak to fire. And it also pillars come out of the ground, which I guess also do a decent amount of damage. Flame Breath, this does a lot of damage. It's basically, you remember the Wyvern boss, the second boss you fought? It's kind of like that. Also, there's a few enemies in the game that use Flame Breath. It basically just ticks with fire damage. It does more damage than the Blizzard Breath. However, it doesn't, obviously doesn't freeze enemies. Sorry, hiccup. Now, moving back to Gargoyle. Like I said, both of these abilities suck. Conflict Fall, it's like Beat Progress, does basically the same thing, just marginally more damage. And Force Cannon, it does decent damage, but has very bad accuracy, and it takes a while to fire off. It's good if there's a lot of enemies, but terrible on a single target. So, if you're going to use a bird ID actively, I recommend Crimson. I think Crimson is the best. The only reason Crimson, though, is the best is because he gets Long Glide, which you basically need, and he gets Bone Shot and Carpet Bombs. That's why I like Crimson the best. And Ignition Blow and Flame Breath aren't bad damage either, but mostly Bone Shot and Carpet Bombs, even with all of the final tier skills, Bone Shot and Carpet Bombs are still usually the best. But like I said, if you're not going to be using the bird type IDs, I'd recommend Phoenix because you can just pull them out, blow up enemies, deal a lot of damage. And if you're going to be using your bird ID, I'd recommend Crimson. Also, one thing to keep into consideration is Long Glide. If you only want to carry around one bird ID at a time, you might want Crimson instead because he comes with Long Glide. But anyway, that's all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, be sure to leave me a like because that helps me out. And if I left anything out or got anything wrong, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below too. Aside from that, I will catch you guys around in future Castlevania Curse of Darkness videos. Peace.